What is your favorite, very creepy fact? One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized that a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards. A feast for crows, one might say. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. Those goddamn mummidickers. It's estimated that there is around 25-50 active serial killers in the US. Foreskin is used to grow skin for those that need skin transplants. It would have cost you £0 not to type that. While most parents do what they can to prevent or stop their babies from crying, that's not always the case in Japan. That's because it's a 400-year-old Japanese tradition that if a sumo wrestler can make your baby cry, it means he or she will live a healthy life. During a special ceremony, parents hand over their infants to sumo wrestlers who bounce their precious tots up and down and sometimes even roar in their little faces to get the tears flowing. He's not a baby that cries much, but today he cried a lot for us and we are very happy about it. Mother Mayshide said at a 2014 event, "I feel like a few £100 man screaming in your face would make any baby cry. So that's kind of cheating." In 1844, there was a case of hysteria in a French convent of nuns. One started meowing and after a week all the nuns were meowing harmoniously in the afternoons. It didn't stop until neighbors called soldiers. There was a similar happening in Germany. The entire population of the village danced and partied themselves to death. When your organs are taken out of your body for abdominal surgery, they don't get placed back in carefully or specifically. You just put all the organs back in and the body sorts itself out. On top of that, some people are born with a condition called situs inversus, in which all their organs are a mirror image of what is normal. Having this automatically disqualifies you from being in the military. The military disqualification very well might have been either a lie, or a miscommunicated or outdated fact by my EMT instructor who was in the army decades ago. He would also tell us little known laws he knew from his police days, some of which sometimes turned out to have changed since his retirement. That's my bad for not confirming with the almighty Google before posting. Some people are born with a condition called situs inversus, in which all their organs are a mirror image of what is normal. Having this automatically disqualifies you from being in the military. Why is that? If the heat death of the universe turns out to be correct trillions of years from now, rather than a big crunch, then it will reach a point of absolute entropy and time as we understand it will have no meaning. On a long enough timeline, once stars stop forming because gas and dust particles become too rare scattered to form a sufficient mass to produce fusion, the existing stars will slowly, gradually, exit their main sequence and become red hypergiants. Then collapse to dwarf stars. Eventually even the dwarfs, the faintest light in the universe, will blink out. Their matter consumed by black holes. Many trillions of years of Hawking radiation will bleed away even the black holes until everything reaches a state of unending changelessness. No physical processes will exist to mark the difference between one moment to the next. No biological or chemical reactions. No atoms and no movement and no light. Time as a linear concept will not exist because nothing will exist that could justify the presence or effects of time. Edit. Thanks for this great response. Multiple people have recommended this YouTube video by Melody Sheep, so I'm including it. Additionally recommended in the comments was this short story by Isaac Asimov. I actually like that thought. That someday, everything will stand still in absolute peace. No disturbance. Just pure entropy. You have a bunch of microscopic parasites called demodex on your eyelashes and in the pores on your face. They come out at night to lay eggs on and eat the oils on your face. Now tell me demodex isn't a Pokemon. A rat king is a phenomenon created when a large group of rats become fused together by their tails via ice, dirt, hair, blood, or even feces. Encounters with this horrible phenomenon inspired some of humanity's greatest myths. Wikipedia.org. I knew what that link would be as you just eloquently described it. Yet I still clicked on it and I was still horrified. Vlad the Impaler was called that because he killed his enemies by placing them as first on pointed poles that would slowly skewer them to death. The armpit is where all your important nerves in your arm, so if you stab it you can't really use your arm. Edit. Please stop replying, I need to go to bed and I also know about the artery. My friend was in the military police for a while. He was trained to incapacitate drunk and angry soldiers by jamming his thumb as hard as he could into the armpit. Apparently it can knock a person unconscious. Can anybody confirm if this is true? I always thought it was bollocks as I've never heard anybody else reference it. Postpartum depression psychosis can show up in a new mother virtually overnight. It can make them hallucinate or go into psychosis, making them think their baby is a demon or the Antichrist, for example. New mothers kill their own children because of postpartum depression psychosis more often than you might like to think. The more the mother knows it's a possibility, the better she'll be able to combat it if it arrives. Edit. Postpartum depression is also a thing and is also a serious issue, but does not cause hallucinations and delusions. That is specifically related to postpartum psychosis, so I have edited my comment to reflect this. My mistake. Mine got so bad that I thought I needed to kill all my kids as a mercy killing and then kill myself so the world couldn't hurt us anymore. It's been 5 years and I still feel horribly guilty. I got help and no one was harmed. That you smell better when you're asleep. Me specifically? How very kind of you to say. After getting stung by a cone snail, you don't feel the sting for a little bit. There is no antivenin and it can be lethal. Treatment is basically keeping the victim alive until the venom wears off. That's just like the blue-ringed octopus. Your insides are constantly moving around and stuff. I hate this, but it's my favorite for that reason. I tried on a proper tight corset once. When I took it off I could feel my inside slide back down out of my ribcage. The average number of hands per person is less than 2. Whoa, that's actually a really good one. Big companies like Target know and record when you're cheating on your so. Second final edit. We're done here folks. Enough is enough. I misremembered a story from 7 goddamn years ago. Move on with your lives please. Thanks. Anglerfish. When anglerfish mates, the male literally deforms its body and fuses with the female, then they live together for the rest of their lives. A human corpse decomposes 4 times faster in water than in the ground, and 8 times faster in open air than in the ground. While filming the movie The Exorcist, many actors got injured. The set burned down. A priest was brought in several times to bless the set, and the actor who played Burke, Jack McGowan, died of influenza. Just so you guys know. The Exorcist, a supernatural horror film directed by William Friedkin, was based on the 1971 novel of the same name by William Peter Blatty, which was in turn inspired by the exorcism case of Roland Doe, a pseudonym given to the victim by the Catholic Church. The 1973 film portrays the demonic possession of a 12-year-old girl. The story revolves around how the mother of the child attempts to seek normalcy in her daughter's life with the help of 2 priests who conduct exorcism. From its onset, the film went through troubled waters. Prestigious directors not only turned down the film, but ominous events surrounded the year-long shoot. Nearly 9 people died who were associated with the production of the film, and a mysterious fire destroyed the set one weekend. People started to believe that the project itself were cursed. A priest was brought in several times on the set to bless the film, its actors and the project. However, as if all the tragedies during the filmmaking process were not enough, that just after the work was wrapped up, the actor who played Burke in the film died of influenza. Heard that a guy that played one of the medical technician in the movie turned out to be a serial killer. Don't remember where I heard that, so I don't know if it's true. You need 2 hands to hold a head because the weight of a head isn't evenly distributed. Just use the holes to grab it like a bowling ball. During the Victorian era, it was not uncommon for families to take pictures with recently deceased relatives. This was done as one final moment with that person to honor them. We actually have some old family pictures like that. My dad told me that usually old pictures of people are not perfectly clear because people would still move a little bit during the time it took to take the photo. But if someone appears very clearly, that is, they were sitting perfectly still, that might very likely be because they were dead when the photo was taken. Creeped me out for sure. Only 9% of the ocean has been explored. And that there are creatures that we would think of as aliens living deep down. There is a island of the dolls in Mexico City that has thousands of creepy dolls to honor a little girl who drowned in the 1950s. The island is also one of the most haunted places. And the man who put up all the dolls to honor the girl also drowned in the same spot she did. It takes approximately 359 humans to have enough iron to forge a sword from their blood. You can fit 63 Earth-size objects in Uranus. That's an odd number of balls. The fulmar is a bird that defensively spits an orange oily substance at attackers. When the attacker tries to go to wash the oil off its wings, it often drowns because it is no longer buoyant. Also, that stomach oil is a nutrient-rich food source. So feel free to make a fulmar spit it in your mouth. Not a fact I know. But there was once this couple who tried experimenting with digital devices. They would talk about dog food for a couple minutes at a time. And even though they didn't have a dog, they began getting tons of ads for dog supplies. Similar things have to my family. It could simply be confirmation bias. But it could be something else. So it's definitely a thing. You say any random thing in front of your phone and have certain maps downloaded, you will get the ads. When you fart, your butthole forms the same shape as your lips when you say poop. Everyone has a spooky skeleton in their body right now. He's called Jeremy and he's very friendly. People will support, actually pay for, starving and torturing and killing people. Just so long as they don't have to watch. When you happen to be murdered, there is only an about 40% chance that your murderer will be found and punished. Scaphism. The worst way of execution I've ever heard of. The word comes from Greek, which stands for hollowed out. The victim is trapped between 2 boats, fed and covered with milk and honey, which then attracts all kinds of insects and vermin that fester and devours you over a couple of days. Kinda like that rat thing where they heat up the cage or whatever so the rats escape through your body. Epstein didn't kill himself. When CNN first signed on in 1980, they recorded a band playing a hymn that they were meant to play at the end of the world. It was hidden from the public for 35 years. Dogs like squeaky toys because it sounds like a small animal being crushed. The average human can drink about a pint of blood before it will cause you to vomit. Mathematically, it is possible that somewhere scattered around the universe exists a number of living beings that resemble you but with slight differences. Technically they are not copies. But if one of these beings were to take your place, nobody would notice. I wonder if the copies of me have also gained a lot of weight in the past 5 years. Seriously. 6 fingers on one hand is actually a dominant trait. Edit, this blew up and ripped my inbox. House dust is mostly dead skin. Ted Bundy. Serial killer used to work for a suicidal hotline. The Roman Empire lasted over 1,000 years. American society is only 243 years old. We could quite possibly collapse just like the Roman Empire did. Figs commonly have dead wasps in them when you eat them. They don't have dead wasps. Figs are pollinated by a specific wasp. I think it's called the fig wasp? Maybe not. But they actually grow inside the fig and exits when it's born. The female pollinates the fruit and dies, leaving behind only her carbon to pollinate the fruit. So yes, technically there's a dead wasp. But only because there wouldn't be figs without them. It is physically impossible to prove that the universe, everything that exists in reality, wasn't just poofed into existence 10 seconds ago. Tastiest part of human body is cheeks. Facial 1. Conspiracy theories are created by the government to distract people from real issues while they carry out their dirty work. Don't trust him, guys. He is working for the government. Feeding a human body to pigs will cause them to eat everything except the teeth. You could be healed instantly by a brain hemorrhagism and have no warning signs prior. 1 second you're perfectly fine, and the next you're dead. I hate this one. It unsettles me every time I read it. When you wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, there's a chance that you sensed that you were being watched. I wake up about 10 times per night. I do have a cat, so it's possible I'm actually being watched. Because they aren't as tasty as baby hens. Baby roosters are typically tossed into the grinder as soon as they are born. This doesn't have much context, so I can explain. Producers of eggs can use factory farms to increase yields of eggs. They use many inhumane practices to increase yields while minimizing work. If a rooster fertilizes an egg, and the chick ends up being male, it will typically be held in a blender or gas chamber, as males don't produce eggs and are therefore useless to them. Chainsaws were originally invented for childbirth. Cotard's delusion is a rare psychiatric condition, severe cases of which cause the sufferer to wholeheartedly believe they are dead, putrefying, or simply do not exist. Some Cotard's patients refuse to eat, as they do not believe they need to, with one notable patient dying of starvation. Another woman once asked to be taken to a morgue to be with the other dead people.